Good morning, America. One people, one voice, one purpose, one choice. As you know, I always talk about subjects people are afraid to talk about. If not afraid, they're afraid to expose who they are, afraid to look themselves in the mirror as I do on a daily basis and examine oneself and truly change what we need to. And this happens every day of my life because I love to learn. I love to open my mind, open my heart and soul to different aspects of life, love, experience, interaction with people, interaction with the world around me, even outside of the country, which I love the most. You may not agree with a lot of things I say, but that's okay because I love diversity. I love to reach into a person's heart and pull those heartstrings, make you think, want to touch where your passion is, want to touch the very core of you, as what I do with the opposite sex. Because trust me, it's not about the physicality of a relationship with a person. It's about what they don't want to show you. The mystery of who people are and unwilling at times to share. Reason why I bring up this subject today about identity crisis. And when you sit before that idiotitude or your addiction to the gadgetry that you own, these are subjects I think about. Why is there a certain percentage of people out there who hate who they are? Ethnicity, culturally, and even as individuals. Why I say this? Because I listened to a lady named Gloria. And I won't say any last name because this is a person that I feel has what plagues this country, an identity crisis. When you want to be anything besides who you really are, whether it's Spanish, whether it's African American, whether it's Jewish, whether it's Caucasian, whether it's German, Chinese, Japanese, Argentinian. Why is it when people come to this country that you get sucked into that proverbial mindless ethnocentric mentality? Because you see a certain class of people, and pretty much it's white society's influence on you. What they feel is the American dream. But is the American dream something we as individuals all contribute to a country? Or do we, once we get here, forget about who we are? We don't identify anymore with our culture, with our ethnic background, with our family tree. That we want to be white. And I'll give you some examples of what I'm talking about. Spoke to a friend of mine. There are these young black girls who grew up in a neighborhood where they were the only African Americans living there. And they are darker than I am. But to them, because they grew up in a predominantly white neighborhood, they thought they were white. They couldn't identify to other African American children because they were only exposed to the environment around them, whether it's their neighborhood, whether it's their school, whether it's where they shop in the mall, or whatever the case may be. So you may ask, well, what's wrong with that? What is wrong with it? I asked you. I revert that question right back to you. What is wrong with that? That you cannot identify who you really are. Your ethnicity, your culture. That those supposedly called your parents only expose you to a certain element of what they feel society is. That you look in a mirror and you're an African black person, but you think you're white. And this has nothing to do with white people. Don't get me wrong. And I constantly say this, and I reiterate. It's not about race. It's about a mentality. Just like this lady Gloria, that she wants to be anything else except Spanish. She raised her child not to speak Spanish. She raised her child not to eat Spanish food. She raised her child to identify with nothing that is Spanish. My personal opinion, that's delusional. Because unless we are proud of who we are, we all lost in that proverbial identity crisis. And besides these young black girls that I'm talking about, we also have white children who get into the fact they call each other niggas, or they wear their pants drop down below their butt, and they lose all this ebonic expressions of verbal communication. And they, as they say, quote unquote, they try to act black. That's an identity crisis. Because if you are not proud of who you are, then what are you? Really, what are you? You're a delusional, lost individual. And it's a sad and pathetic state of mind to be in. And this whole social thing about interracial marriages and interracial relationships, that somehow people assume and perceive that if I'm with a certain race of a woman, that it betters me. And let's just use a black man and a white woman as an example. Some black men's mentality that when they're with a white woman, that it makes them better. Or a Spanish woman who thinks that she's with a white man makes her better. Somehow improves her social standings. And in both cases, you both are idiotic. Because no person, and I don't care who they are, or what ethnic background or culture they come from, betters you. If you don't have the self-love, self-esteem, the respect for yourself, to minimize your ethnicity or your cultural background and love it with all your heart and soul, there's something definitely wrong with you. There's something definitely not registering up there. See, although we see in the media the blue eyes and blonde hair and the fine body and all the makeup and all the cosmetics and all the gyms and all the losing of weight and all these egotistical, shallow, empty mentality that they feel a person is, if you're wrapped up in this, if you think that's truly who you are, then you're in a wasted, empty, shallow, mundane life, and you need help. I was born partly African American, partly French, partly American Native Indian, and I identify with all of those, because that's truly who I am. That's my makeup. That's my chemical makeup. That makes me of who I am from both sides of my parents. And I will not, for any reasonable reasoning, deny that. Not to my children, not to society, not to a culture who is caught up in this ethnocentric mentality. I am proud and I love who I am. So that certain percentage of people out in our society who can identify with your own race, with your own culture, you need a wake-up call. You need to truly find out what self-love is. You need to truly find out what is it about your culture or what is it about your ethnicity that you cannot confide in or cannot realize or cannot love and appreciate. Your heritage. How can you look your mother in the eye, or how can you look your father in the eye and deny who you are? That is telling your parents that you never existed. You never had anything to do with my birth or my conception. That's a sad state of mind to be in. And although, mind you, you think that white society pretty much defines success or defines the American dream, and that's where you're wrong too, because that's one aspect of society. That's one aspect. And somehow you have women of Spanish descent or black or Asian or any other ethnic group of people who think that if you marry a white man, somehow that betters you. Somehow it's the acceptability in society that when you have their children, that somehow your children are better because of it. No. No one ethnic group or culture betters anyone. It only adds to what you already are. If you're Spanish, it only adds to who you are. The child's genetic genes carry her Spanish heritage, or her black heritage, or her Chinese heritage, or her Japanese heritage, or her German, or Swedish, or Australian heritage. It doesn't deplete it. Or if you marry a black man, it doesn't deplete who you are. You only share two cultures. As I tell my children, they're biracial, and I tell them all the time, you are the best of both worlds. Could I have married a black woman? Sure I could, but I didn't. Does that make me better or worse? No, it doesn't. It's called choice. And although in my lifetime I've dated many black women, I've dated many women of different ethnic groups and cultures, Does it better me? No. Did it open my mind to different ethnic groups and cultures out there? Sure it has. That's what it's all about. It's all about the education, the exploration of people other than yourself. Why I love to travel. Why most people don't know what traveling is, don't know what it is on the other side, or on the other side of town, let alone the other side of another country. Because somehow you think being confined into that proverbial box of where you grew up or where you live, that depicts life. No, it doesn't. It just shows me that you need to learn. It shows me that you need to, as the course I took, IPC, which is interpersonal communication, you need to peel away a little bit more of that proverbial onion and reach the core of you and really get to know who you are. Truly get to know what self-love is. Truly get to know who you are more than what you see with your eyes. One thing we have to learn in life, above all things, above anything you can ever experience, is the love for oneself. And I'll make a quote Socrates said. And listen to all of you out there who hate yourselves, hate your culture, hate your ethnicity. To thine own self be true. Because if you can't be true to you, you can't be true to your children. You can't be true to your husband, like this lady Gloria. And the ironic thing about it, she avoids who she is, who is a Spanish woman. But her husband wants to be Spanish. So in both cases, there's a problem of an identity crisis. That is, to me, that is just weak. If anything, it's inferior, not superior. Because a superior individual will appreciate who they are and embrace the culture, whether it's different or otherwise. Embrace your culture. Because we do live in the proverbial melting pot. And the beauty thing about it, and in my times of dating women of different cultures, interacting with people of different cultures, I learned so much. I learned things that I love about them. I learned things that I disagree. But that pretty much sums up what life is. Because it's not just white society. And why people would think that one particular race is better than any other race, I never can wrap my head around that. I just can't. And we get into these arguments about who Jesus is, whether he was white, whether he was black. I mean, go back and forth in debates. Who really cares? Because in all intents and purpose, you missed the message anyway. See, that's the problem with our society. We're so in tune in using these to perceive a dream, to perceive a society, to perceive success, to perceive happiness, peace, harmony. It's not with these. It's with this. It's with the soul. If you don't communicate with all these characteristics, you too are lost. Because you're only just one dimensional. To live in this society, to live in this life, you have to be multifunctional. You have to be multidimensional. Then you really find true enlightenment about your culture, about your ethnicity, and true love for your parents, your grandparents, your great-great-grandparents, your lineage, your heritage. And if you can't appreciate that, sorry. You need to end it. Because every day that you live a lie. Wanting to be something that you're not. That proverbial identity crisis. Because to me, it only shows insecurity. It only shows inferiority. And no man, no woman will ever define me, will ever limit my ability, my God-given abilities to achieve and excel. And if it did, then there's something wrong with me. Stop allowing other people, other influences in this world determine who you are. Be proud of who you are. Not because a certain sector out there or a certain group of people who so-called pretty much personify society, because they don't. Love you and teach your children to love themselves. Love who they are. And I don't care who you marry. I don't care who you're in a relationship with. I don't care who your friends are. They will never define you. If you don't find inner peace in yourself, you don't find inner love in yourself, you don't find inner security within yourself, you're a weak person. You're a person that needs to seriously sit down and get some serious therapy. Because in all my experiences in life, I love all people and appreciate what they contribute to this society. Not one race, but it's a multicultural society. And once we learn that, we learn the gift of humanity. I'm out. One people, one voice. Lesson of the day. See you.